Hosking from Hosking Promotions, and we're going to ask him a few questions about his business. So number one, what type of ownership does Hosking Promotions have?
It's a private company. My wife and myself are the directors, so all in-house, mate.
Yeah. And have you had any formal or informal advice or support?
Yeah, not initially, I must admit. We sort of learned on the job a fair bit, and sort of learnt the hard way on some occasions, but I have had a couple of sort of mentors, I suppose, along the way. One of them's involved with Duco, which is probably the biggest promotional company in Australia. They promote Jeff Horn. So I've got a couple of really good mentors there in the matchmaker and also the promoter. So they've been probably my two biggest influences so far.
Not Oscar De La Hoya.
I haven't met Oscar yet, no.
How long has Hosking Promotions been established, and why did you choose to start it up?
We started it 3 years ago, and it come after our training camp in the States with the Maloney boys, and they asked me to get involved some way, so I thought, well, I'll do that and maybe get a promoter's license just to, you never know, we might be able to help in some way. So we put a show on in November 2015, that was our first show, and we've done 13 since, so 14 in total. But I chose to start up just purely and solely just to give a little bit back to the sport, and maybe, as I said, mainly to help out the Maloney boys more than anything.
Do you have a vision or mission statement or set goals and purposes?
I don't usually get in the habit of writing down mission statements. I think it's pretty basic on what you want to do, whether that's in this or our other business with the liquor. It's pretty just a set of I suppose guidelines rather than having a mission statement. I don't need something pinned on the wall to know what I want to do and how I want to go about it. So it's just really deciding that the main structure of what you want to do. In our liquor industry, it's about, well, you've got to give someone a reason to come in. They're not just going to come in because they think you're a good bloke. You've got to give them a reason. So that's what we do. In the boxing, it's really just to, I suppose, make the event if I was a fan, how I would want to see it. So the type of fights I'd want to see, the type of show on the night I'd want to see, and what I'd expect from my money. So that's pretty much the basics, mate, but I don't actually have a mission statement, no.
What type of marketing do you usually do?
Well, these days it's all about social media, isn't it?
Yep.
We used to do a fair bit of radio, we've done TV, we've done newspaper, we've done everything, and unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's just the way it is in the world these days. 95% of people communicate through social media. So we do marketing campaigns on Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest of it. And that's the way it sort of goes these days, because I'm when I first started the business, it was all about radio and TV and newspaper, and they're probably the avenues that don't seem to work at all anymore. So social media is where we target, and also our target market is on social media. Obviously, in the liquor industry, it's all the 21 to 35-year-olds, where in boxing, it's the die-hard fans who jump on the Facebook page to get the fix of everything that's going on.
Does the business have a web page, and is it successful?
We do actually. Well, we started to have a web page, but to answer your question, no, we haven't got one now. Again, it comes down to social media. When most people want to check out what you're up to, they'll go to your Facebook page, and the web page has almost become a little bit obsolete. So, and it's just and look, to be honest with you, it is hard to keep a web page updated with all the stuff. When people go to, say, it's a Hosking Promotions website, I'm sure they want to see videos and merchandise and ticketing, and it's just, we just haven't got time to probably do it properly, to be honest. But Facebook's nice and easy. It's a few videos, it's a photo, it's a poster, and a few things, and you put it out to everyone, and everyone does the work for you. So I think it's more successful.
What are 2 OH&S requirements you have to take into consideration when hosting a fight?
I think having good security is obviously the first one, and a good public liability insurance policy helps as well. But no, again, we look at it as if I was sitting there in the audience as a fan, how we would, how I would like to feel safe in the area. We have plenty of guards. We have probably 2 or 3 more than what we actually were required to have. We have plenty of staff. They're all well trained, all the qualifications you need, and we just try and keep it safe. We have an evacuation plan. We have a good setup on the night as far as our ring and chairs and where the security are all situated. So, but as I said, if all else fails, we've got a $20 million public liability insurance policy that hopefully will do the job.
What makes Hosking Promotions successful?
You missed out profitable, mate. No,
sorry.
look, to be honest with you, the boxing shows are not really profitable. All I'm after is to cover the costs. As I said before, I didn't get into it for the money. Money would be nice, but it was more so about our boys and making sure they get, and girls, and making sure they get to where they want to get to. What makes them successful is we don't cut corners, we don't take shortcuts. Basically, we, again, as I said a couple of times, I want to sit out in the audience and I want the light show. I want a good ring set up. I want great fights, and I think that's the key to making a success. Is you have evenly matched fights. That's probably the first one, because if you have mismatches, people aren't going to want to come and. It doesn't matter what you offer; they're not going to come if the mismatches are there. So we try. That's the very first thing we do is try and make evenly matched fights, and then obviously to get the star fighters on. So and mix and match it a little bit too.
When putting together a fight card, what do you need to take into consideration money-wise?
Well, the best laid plans sometimes come undone because there's always things that get thrown on top that you're not factoring in. And as I said before, I've learnt the hard way in a lot of these things. But the first thing we look at is obviously you've got the key ones. You've got your venue, your ring, your audio visual, your production, so the TV and all that sort of stuff. And then it really comes down to looking at obviously what the purses are going to cost, what the fights are going to cost, and then working your way backwards to see whether you can actually sell that amount of tickets. And I always go for the worst case scenario because you want it so if the least amount of people turn up to what you think, then you've got your bases covered. But that's what we look at is those key things first. But the main thing to take in consideration, because the things like the ring and the venue and the AV and the production are there no matter whether it's the show's this big or this big. So they're going to be cost you're going to either way. So it really comes down to the purses and also trying to factor in the cost of visas and flights and all that sort of stuff so you can minimise them because that's where your expenses are.
And going back to last Saturday, what is the difference between Andrew Maloney versus Richard Claveras as opposed to somebody like Terry and Jake or Lockie?
Well, it's actually a lot. It's a lot, to be honest. Look, a Maloney fight, and look, it's hard with the Maloney boys because there's two of them. They have the same crowd for them, but there's two of them, so we've got the same amount of pot of money, but we've got times two the expenses, so that's what's hard. But look, with the Maloney boys, obviously you've got their purses, their opponents' purses, which are normally quite substantial. Flights from overseas, normally 3 flights per fighter, because they've got the trainers and the managers and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got the sanctioning fees for the WBA, obviously accommodation, all that sort of stuff. So if you're looking at what they probably cost, is probably 3 to 4 times as much as what a fight between a McBride and Zuramanis would cost, because they fight for whatever per round and percentage of ticket sales. The Maloney boys do that, but as I said, their expenses tend to blow out quite quickly.
And last one, is it difficult to market to a casual boxing fan in Australia? How do you get their ticket punched as opposed to one of your diehard, and do you need to change anything?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, because that's what we sit around here and racking our brains about how do we get the casual fight fan in there, because it's a bit of a shame, but at the moment, and I know it's just the state of boxing in Australia or it's just Victoria, I don't know, but unfortunately when you get these guys to the shows, probably 90% of the people there, probably even 95 are family and friends. So that's when we sit down and we do our cards. We have to look at, okay, does he sell tickets? And yes, if he does, he gets a tick, he's on the show. If he doesn't sell tickets, unfortunately, you can't. And that's not the way we want to do things. We want the best young up-and-coming fighters on there, but unfortunately it comes down to being able to pay for the show. So that's our challenge, is to get the casual fight fans out there to go, whether they actually know the fighter or not. And that's our challenge at the moment. But as it stands, as I said, 90% of the people that go are family and friends, and that's why we're so hard on the guys to actually sell tickets, because if they don't sell tickets, we've got a half-empty hall, we're losing money, and the shows don't happen. So, but there are some things happening with some of the bigger guys. As I said before, with Duco, they're looking to get involved at state level a bit more rather than the world level, getting involved in doing shows in Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane and so forth. So if they get in, they've got TV money, they've got sponsorship, so if they can get involved with people like us, it will make it a lot easier. But that's our challenge now, is to get the casual fans in, get TV and sponsorship, and hopefully we can afford to put these guys on regardless whether they can sell tickets or not.
Well, that's it. Thank you very much for your time, Lynden, and
No
thank
worries,
you for
mate.
answering the questions.
No worries.